Oh, no, I just did.
This one sounds like it's on. Testing, yeah. I didn't. That one.
But I still am contact with them all the time. And you come up with every conversation.
Good morning. Do you want me to do that, Representative Tell? I think they can. It's right there. You do it. He's excited about that.
I state my goal. I can't organize now. It's what our council is the best thing ever.
Yes.
Okay, let's come to order. It's 10 o'clock, a little after 10. State Government Committee will come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Sells.
Here.
Representative Bedsole.
Here.
Representative Rogers. Dr. Boyd. Representative Butler.
Here.
Representative Chestnut. Representative Keel.
Here.
Representative Kirkland.
Here.
Representative Lawrence.
Here.
Representative Paramore.
Here.
Representative Shaw.
Here.
Representative Stothagen. Representative Wood. Representative Yarborough. We have a quorum.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, today we just have one bill, SB 129, and carrying it for the Senate would be Representative Ed Oliver. Representative Oliver.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me be here. What I've got is a bill that's been here before. We passed in the House, and of course the Senate did not. So this bill's been around for about 3 years now, and we've worked on it and done an awful lot of good work on it. And I think it's a good bill, or I would not be standing here. What I did want to say first, and this is just some insight, and this is from a professor in Missouri. He said that diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI programs, are radical and divisive offshoots of critical race theory, CRT. Their effect on college campuses is to deepen divisions, set up race exclusionary programs, and indoctrinate students into a far-left political ideology. Reasonable limitations on the use of DEI statements in screenings in faculty hiring, tenure, and student admissions, and prohibitions against mandatory DEI training will strengthen free inquiry on campus and improve viewpoint diversity. Universities can meet accreditor requirements and create truly welcoming and inclusive communities without establishing highly ideological DEI programs. Schools can do so by scrupulously adhering to state and federal anti-discrimination requirements and by working to establish academic and student support programs that help all students succeed, irrespective of their background. I passed out some notes for you that I'll go over very quickly for the benefit of everybody that's here. What are divisive concepts? And we understand they are the concepts that hold that any race, color, sex, religion, sex, ethnicity, or national origin is superior or inferior, that a person should be discriminated against for these traits, that a person's moral character is based on these traits, that a person is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive because of these traits, that a person is responsible for actions committed in the past by others with these traits, that fault, blame, or bias be assigned to members based on these traits, that individuals should have a sense of guilt or apologize for these traits. Divisive concepts hold that merit-based attributes like a hard work ethic are racist or sexist. Now, there are a lot of opinions, and I know a lot of people have some things to say, and I have some speakers today that would like to speak, if that's okay at this time.
Yes, sir. We have a public hearing. If you like, we'll go ahead and move into the public hearing. We'll come back to you after you get through with that. Okay, at this time, we'll go to our public hearing. We have some sign-ups, people signed up. We're going to do 5 on each side because of time. You're going to get 3 minutes apiece, okay? And we have a timer here. It's going to be a little different. Instead of me saying, hey, you got 10 seconds, you're going to have a timer that's going to show you time, and you can you pace yourself based on this timer, because when it goes off, you're done, okay? That way it's fair for everybody. It's the same amount of time. Okay, clerk, please call the first person.
Becky Garrettson.
Good morning. Thank you for holding this hearing. My name is Becky Garrettson. I'm the Executive Director of Eagle Forum of Alabama. As you'll notice on your handout in front of you, the concepts of DEI are based on these traits: race, color, religion, sex, ethnicity. These are traits that do not speak to a person's character or their work ethic. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are 3 words that have been hijacked and are being used to tear down our public institutions, state agencies, and corporations. Diversity used to mean that people of different backgrounds were free to join a group or association. Equity used to mean enforcing equal standards for all individuals and groups. Inclusion used to mean allowing people of every background and identity to participate in a group or association. But now, in their DEI context, these words all mean one thing: using unequal standards to guarantee a favored outcome for people based on traits like race, sex, ethnicity, religion. In the DEI world, if one were to argue that the same standards should apply to everyone, everywhere, regardless of race, sex, or gender identity, you would be labeled a racist, you'd be shouted down, shunned, reprimanded, or even fired. DEI is predicated on separating people into 2 categories: victims and oppressors. These 2 categories are based on those outward physical traits. This type of thinking sows discord and is ruining our relationships between coworkers and students. DEI assumes that people of color can't make it on their own, neither can women or anyone who falls under the LGBTQ umbrella. This is wrong. Research is bearing out that DEI programs don't even work. Auburn ramped up their DEI programs, but the result was it led to less minorities enrolling. Troy spent 0 money on DEI programs, and they have 32% students who are Black. Student surveys across the country show that the more money that is spent on DEI programs, the less students feel safe or included. Corporations like Google, Meta, and Zoom are cutting back on their DEI departments. Those executives are openly admitting that DEI programs undermine productivity, they destroy merit-based systems, and they poison corporate culture. Alabama is spending untold millions of dollars on DEI programs that spread division and distrust among its own employees and students. One more important thing you need to know about this bill: you're going to hear opponents come up and tell you that this bill will prohibit the teaching of our country's founding or of slavery, and that it will stifle academic freedom. But the truth is, this bill was carefully written to protect those things, as you will see in Section 4. DEI is not an inevitability. It is a choice that can be undone. And I ask that you give this bill a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cameron Cunningham.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable senators and esteemed colleagues and fellow citizens. My name is Cameron Cunningham. I'm a student here at Auburn University at Montgomery. I stand for you today to voice my strong opposition to the Senate bill SB 129. A proposed address to address diversity, equity, and inclusion within the state of Alabama. If this bill was to be passed and became law, it will present a considerable threat to the cherished principles of academic freedom and intellectual diversity and foundational principles for free expression, all critical elements for a thriving education environment. To start, the provision within the legislation that restricts the teachings of historical, accurate topics or events in their proper context raises a profound concern. Education should be a realm dedicated to present facts, nurturing critical thinking, and fostering open dialogue. It should not be a platform for censoring information or providing a singular perspective. Moreover, the limitations imposed on public institutions of higher education prevented them from engaging in research, collecting data, and providing support services for targeted at a demographic are myopic and are detrimental. Such activities are vital to comprehend and address the diverse needs for the students and communities. Restricting them are only serves to impede the progression and the inequalities that here in Alabama. As we continue, the prohibition to promoting racial and cultural and ethnic diversity and inclusivity is principles that are advocating two negative roles in society. Additionally, the mandates to designate restrooms based on biological sex neglect the complexity and diverse backgrounds of many people with gender identification. It fails to accommodate the needs of transgenders and non-binary individuals. It construes It construes a unfounded, prohibited, and inclusive idea. Finally, Senate Bill 129 presents a infringement on academic freedom, intellectual diversity, and the principles of equity and equals for everyone.
Yes.
Sorry, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Patrick Herman.
I'm a retired University of Alabama professor, and I want to say how glad I am that you allowed debate here, because it would not be allowed at the University of Alabama or at any of our universities with DEI programs. You get in trouble for that. Let me give you an example. A student at UAB Medical School has told us they teach you that if you don't publicly acknowledge your pronouns, you are guilty and responsible for everyone who struggles with gender dysphoria, depression, and suicide. They brought in a group of transgender students who talked how they were claimed they were ignored by the medical community, and offered to match a faculty member with a student at the medical school. They say if you've ever had a deep emotional relationship with someone of the same sex, you are LGBTQ and should use the they pronoun. Our faculty are terrified, and they've asked retired faculty to come out and speak because they're afraid to. One faculty member has said a highly politicized group has taken over the UA Faculty Senate, and other faculty are just checked out. They are frightened by this Marxist approach. Another faculty member said to me, DEI has had a devastating effect on academic freedom and debate at the University of Alabama. An undergraduate student said, her education professor, a hotbed for this kind of teaching, told her, don't bring that Christian junk into this classroom. And a graduate student told me, the beginnings of American education were predicated upon the evil of religion. You know about Sarah Budd, I assume. We've written about her, the nursing student who was told by her instructor that 80% of those killed by police were disabled. Her husband is a police officer, and she withdrew from the PhD program at the University of Alabama in nursing. There's a STEM professor that I offered a pro-life pencil to. It had little images of children's feet on it. This professor told me I would be denied tenure if this were seen on my desk at the University of Alabama. I would be seen as anti-woman and hence anti-diversity. And finally, a slave narratives course where the students were asked at the end, before the final exam, raise your hand if you're proud to be an American. Not a single student in that class, an advanced undergraduate class, raised their hand. I wouldn't have raised my hand. I would have raised a finger, though. Hate crime. Thank you for this opportunity for free discussion. I wish there were more of it in our universities.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Aon Betty.
Aon Betty, but that's all right. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Aon Betty, and I'm an actual student at the University of Alabama, a person who will actually be affected by this bill. I'm also president of the Black Faculty and Staff Association Ambassadors, and we run the Hallowed Grounds Tour, a tour of UA's campus that focuses on Black history and the civil rights movement in Tuscaloosa. This is information that no one else talks about at UA. It's about having a different point of view on history. DEI is about introducing points of view to people who otherwise wouldn't be able to see that. What about tolerating others is far left? What about critically thinking about history is far left? What about learning about people outside of Alabama's majority is far left? DEI is also essential to Alabama's future. We're a state in need of help. DEI brings countless students to Alabama. We've enrolled the largest class ever for several years in a row. The class of 2022 was less than 35% in state. And I can tell you personally that without DEI, I wouldn't have considered Alabama. An attack on DEI is an attack on education, an attack on your own constituents, and an attack on this state's future.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Earl Tilford.
My name is Earl Tilford. I'm a retired college history professor, and I will be, first of all, reading from the Path Forward Progress Update, which is a DEI instrument. Embed DEI competencies into the employee annual performance review process to measure inclusive behavior by employees, ensure accountability of the strategic plan, track employee growth in DEI over time, and recognize the contributions of outstanding employees. Conduct with the leadership of the provost a review of tenure and promotion processes to revalue the service performed by faculty in the interest of advancing racial equality. The review should take into account such work as working in underrepresented areas and communities. Units should ensure that these highly valued contributions of tenure promotion process do not prohibit faculty from advancing in a timely manner. Okay, me speaking. Tenure usually depends on pedagogy, research in an appropriate field, your field, and service to the university. This politicizes the tenure process. You will have to conform and be evaluated on your contributions to DEI. Also speaking now as a retired history professor. Education seeks facts and learning what is true or false. Indoctrination aims at influencing people to believe facts not entirely supported by the facts. They are, in fact, often opinion. A significant hallmark of education founders when professors engage in indoctrination, and what's missing is critical thinking. The lack of critical thinking means that disagreement with the narrator or the narrative is verboten. Therefore, obedience to a given ideology is valued more than any one person's individual thoughts or the objective truth. That is the danger of critical race theory in Alabama, classrooms at the University of Alabama, and especially in classrooms that are laden with diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's nothing in SB 129 that will prevent the teaching of history, the teaching of philosophy, or any other discipline where all ideas are presented and all ideas are evaluated critically. Please pass SB 129 and let's return academic excellence to the forefront of higher education in Alabama. Thank you and have a good day.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sean Atchison.
Good morning, y'all. How you doing? My name is Sean Atchison. I'm a senior at the University of Alabama from Chatham, Alabama, graduating in May with a degree in Latin American Studies. I'm here to speak about the threat of SB 129, not just to our universities, but to our state's future. Diversity, equity, and inclusion programs give students an opportunity to learn about other cultures and people that are different than they are. This bill will strip our university's ability to educate students and will therefore make our students less competitive as we seek jobs after college. Nearly every corporation in America has a DEI program. If you pass this bill, every single one will know Alabama students are unqualified for positions in their companies. Let me also note, I'm a white man, I am from South Alabama, I'm from the middle of nowhere. I have never, ever felt oppressed by a DEI program. I've never felt threatened nor hurt. I feel educated, I feel stronger than ever, and more confident in my ability to get a job that will benefit the long-term future of the state than ever before. This is in large part due to the DEI programs at the University of Alabama. There is more debate happening at our university than ever before. And as Governor Ivey said in an address for the National Governors Association last week, we have to learn to disagree better. That's what DEI does. DEI is for everyone. That includes me, and includes all of you. It's for all people. It's for the betterment of the United States. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are patriotic values. It's at the core of who we are as Alabamians. The Capstone Creed, the University of Alabama's guiding principles for students, states we are to promote equity and inclusion. This bill will strike at the foundation of our student body and our values. And let me be clear, y'all, I have seen what these programs do for people. I'm not a Marxist. I'm not here to indoctrinate nobody, and I don't know a single person in DEI programs at my university who wants to. And I'm looking you all in your eyes to tell you, this bill will have consequences you're not thinking about, and you need to think about them for the future of our state. We are kneecapping students' abilities to get jobs, y'all. Corporations won't come to this state. Students won't come to this state. And for those reasons, I must urge you to think about these consequences and oppose SB 129.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hunter Weathers.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Hunter Weathers. I am currently the chairman of the College Republican Federation of Alabama. I'm also a recent graduate from the University of Alabama. I want to tell you about a past instance of DEI that I personally witnessed. The University of Alabama Student Government Association and the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion presented a DEI certification training that was mandatory for hundreds of students, including several members of the College Republicans. In the course of the mandatory training, lecturer Jane Elliott, who during her career as a diversity trainer for hire, has described our education system and our society in general as racist, repeatedly condemned conservative viewpoints, and the thousands of students on our campus who hold them. She told religious students to oppose abortion to, quote, get over it, informed students that how insensitive it for them to identify as straight, or white, and compared former President Trump to Adolf Hitler and the U.S. to Nazi Germany. Several leftist students in attendance, emboldened by the speaker, disparaged their conservative classmates as ignorant for raising objections to Elliott's rant. One student went as far to say that a black conservative on the campus is leading the argument for racism. It is ironic that the university would endorse such views at the time they roll out their One UA initiative, the slogan for which is "Hate doesn't roll here." Diversity, equity, and inclusion are all important values of a healthy campus community, and CR support them. But when the training that happened, according to the SGA sanctioned speaker, these values do not apply to conservative students at UA. This training, and thereby endorsing intolerance against conservative, Republican, and religious students on the campus, the University of Alabama DEI showed that it does not fully embrace its own values. I'd like to give you a quote from a member of a sorority at the University of Alabama. "One thing many of these trainings or events that we are required to go to aren't for us. A transgender coffee hour is not for me. But there is no way out of these programs. Having the points and passports help us with block seating for football games, that is the currency with which we are forced into submission at UA." And I'd like to take the chance to explain that. The university does not directly mandate this. However, fraternities and sororities require their students to go to these trainings to become DEI certified, which by doing that, it requires members of fraternities and sororities who are against these views forced to go to them. Even though it may not be university sanctioned, it is still required. I hope to have a favorable report of SB 129, and y'all have y'all favorite. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everwood. This is 4 of you.
One more each after this.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. My name is Everwood. I'm a junior at the University of Alabama. I am an out-of-state student. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. And I say that because the vast majority of the people that are affected by this bill are not your constituents. You're really affecting the way that out-of-state students view Alabama, because I'm only here because of the DEI programs, and I am so grateful for them, because the safe zone at the University of Alabama saved my life. I went to North Point Christian School. I didn't know that I was gay until I came to college, mostly because we weren't allowed to talk about it. So if you want things that you're not allowed to talk about, maybe look at things like that. All I wanted when I came to UA was to belong. That's what I wanted. I joined every program I could think of. I did the Honors Society, I did Ignite UA, but none of those places connected me with them. They were just there, you know? They weren't there to help me find a home at UA. I got into a very bad relationship, and I can say with 99% confidence that I would not have survived it if I had stayed maybe 2 more months in that relationship. But the Safe Zone has a program called Rainbow Connection. You don't have to be gay to attend. You don't have to identify with the LGBTQ community to attend. None of those things are necessary to attend any of the DEI programs on campus. So I went. And instead of indoctrinating me that everybody is secretly transgender, as some people want to think, they taught me that I have self-worth as a human being, regardless of how I identify, regardless of who I'm in love with. And I got out of that relationship because they taught me how to set healthy boundaries. I'm not going to go to UA if this bill passes. I will transfer out. I will not be giving them my grad school money. UA has one of the best book arts campuses in the United States, but I will not go there. I will leave, and I acknowledge that I am one person saying that to you, but my story is not unique. A lot of people in these programs will not be returning to UA if they are not safe on campus, and this is a matter of safety. Because there are students who, with the bathroom bills, because they're being forced to go to the bathroom in bathrooms that align with their sex and not their gender identity, they don't look like that. And so they are being murdered. And this is a real thing that has happened in the last week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Oppose this bill.
Emily Jones. Emily Jones. One more after this.
Oh, okay. Hi, thank you all for having me today. I know a couple of you on the board or on the committee, but for those I've not met, I'm Emily Jones. I am with Moms for Liberty Legislative Committee for the state of Alabama. There's been a lot of discussion today about DEI, and I'm going to take a slightly different spin. I have a 9-year-old son who's in public school in Madison City, so we've talked a lot about higher ed. I'm going to talk a little bit more on the elementary level. We hear a lot about DEI. At the core, DEI is very divisive. It divides people into categories. It labels them. It pits people against one another. If we were talking about my son, DEI would label him as privileged, racist, oppressive, white male. That is who my 9-year-old would be in the eyes of DEI. But let me tell you who my child is and why DEI is so destructive to our children. 9 years old, 3rd grade, there's a new kid that joins their class. This child is nothing like my child, except for the fact that he is a male. He is presumably from Mexico, does not speak a word of English, comes to school with nothing. They go into break time. This child has nothing to eat. My child, the oppressive white male, goes into his lunchbox and gives this child a snack. So this child has something to eat. They go into class time. Everybody gets out their books and their Chromebooks. This child's staring at the wall because he has no clue what the teacher is saying. My child helps this kid get his Chromebook, start it, and find the Google Translate app so he can communicate with the teacher. My child is the one that escorts him to the bathroom. Anytime this child has to navigate across campus by himself without the class, my child, the oppressive white male, is the one that volunteers to take care of him. Because my child knows that we are all God's children. We are all equal, and we should take care of one another. He has compassion and kindness in his heart because that is what he has taught and how he has taught to treat other people. To look at them and help them, not look at them and label them and focus on the differences, but to focus on the ways that we are similar and that we can help each other be successful in life. DEI at its core teaches the exact opposite of those principles. So putting this stuff in schools at higher ed, where teachers are coming into elementary schools and teaching this, teaching it at elementary kids, where they learn at 9 years old to hate someone because they're different. It is egregious that we would do that to our children. It is egregious to a parent who's putting everything they have into their kids to teach them the principles of valuing humans as they are and not focusing on differences. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last speaker will be Marissalinski.
Hello, esteemed members of the committee. Thank you so much for making this opportunity possible for all of us. I am a physician and a medical educator from Birmingham. My words today are my own and may not necessarily represent those of my institution and employer. The intentional creation of diverse spaces where all can receive an invitation to a metaphorical party and enter a culture of inclusivity, where everyone isn't just inside, but is able to dance, that makes all of us better. This intentional and institutionalized DEI drives excellence. Academia and medical education, y'all, didn't invent this. We appropriated it from corporate America because DEI drives innovation and profit. Here we have Forbes, okay? The International McKinsey study. Companies that place a heavy focus on DEI efforts outperform competitors by 36% on the high bar of profitability. Regions Bank. We pledge to stand together and embrace our differences, foster a culture of inclusion, and make life better. Shipped. These are our flagships. Because for SHIPs, diversity, equity, and inclusion is not just the right thing to do, it's the only way we will succeed as a business. So if corporate America felt offices of DEI were divisive, dangerous, and a negative return on investment, they'd be closing them. Instead, corporations in Alabama and nationally are expanding them. Governments of Japan, England, Canada, and other wealthy nations have DEI policies, offices, and even laws. So too does Alabama. Senator Coleman's amendment was necessary because in our state we have a law that requires that the membership of a state board, commission, or authority be inclusive and reflect the racial, gender, and geographic and economic diversity of our state. This bill creates a pernicious optic of negativity while we, Alabama, are already under a national microscope. Alabama defunds an unequivocal driver of excellence. Workforce development, a crown jewel of tremendous success for Governor Ivey's tenure in administration, is risking one large heart attack if this bill becomes law, one that no amount of CPR can effectively revive. Please, folks, we find it unfavorable, and I so hope you can too. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Make it a good day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, this time we'll call the sponsor back up, Representative Oliver. Okay, I want to remind the committee members, if you have anything to say, please make sure you're acknowledged by the chair. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Yeah, the Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the recognition. I've been sitting here trying to figure out how we got to this point and what do I want to say in reference to this piece of legislation. I think we all know what's inevitable here today, but you know, we normally have these type of meetings on Wednesday, state government meetings. For some reason today, this week, we decided to change our meeting to Tuesday. I don't know why. I don't know what's the big rush. But this bill is, to me, is divisive within itself. And I'll finish my comments, but I want to ask the sponsor, could you tell me why were DEI programs created initially?
They sprung out of CRT, actually. And it sounds like a great idea, diversity, equity, and inclusion, until it becomes an ideology that's rooted in Marxism and is a one-way thought. And there is no dissent. You either adhere to what they tell you or you suffer the consequences.
Is that based on your interpretation of what DEI is?
And that's pretty much everybody's. Except maybe some people that would argue. But for the folks that are proponents of this bill, and remember, almost 40 states have some version of this legislation.
That doesn't make it right. I mean, you had 50 states that had segregation. That didn't make it right. I mean, I'm just...
Once again, we're focusing on the things that bring us together as Americans and Alabamians and not the things that drive us apart.
So you think this is going to bring us together? Do you really, truly, honestly believe that this piece of legislation is going to bring us together?
Absolutely, as opposed to the DEI programs that you see in institutions or teaching kids at the earliest ages that their differences set them apart.
Let me tell you why I think not. We just had a public hearing here today. And you didn't have one minority that spoke in favor of this piece of legislation. But you think this bill is going to bring us together?
Oh, I think so.
I don't know what...
Well, first of all, think about the things the bill doesn't do. The argument I've heard from minority, particularly marginalized minorities, have been that it does not allow you to teach history. That's the biggest complaint that I've heard.
You know, I know why this bill was, it's this national Republican move to disband all of these programs throughout the United States. I understand that. If it wasn't a national move, I don't think we'll be here today. And I think we got to get away from what Florida does, what Mississippi does, what California does, what Tennessee does, and stick to what's best for the state of Alabama. And this piece of legislation is not good for the state of Alabama. We have a whole lot of people that's saying because they do this or they do this or they see this and they say that they think this is going to make the state of Alabama better. I have to differ because I had a student, former University of Alabama law student. She expressed that she didn't feel like she would have graduated from the University of Alabama had it not been for a DEI program, because she felt like that DEI program created a space where she was safe, where she otherwise felt threatened. This particular individual said that she was part of a protest at the University of Alabama, and the arresting officer told her that it was her fault because she was protesting. She was protesting her rights. The police officer told her that it was her fault that she was protesting and that the reason why she felt these death threats and all this type of stuff. That's the same thing that happened in the 50s and the 60s during the civil rights movement. We were called agitators because we was protesting for rights. We was protesting for the right to use the same restroom. We were protesting the right to use the same water fountain. We were protesting the right to go to the same schools. But most important, we was protesting a God-given right for the chance to vote. And those same people were told that they were agitators, that they need to go somewhere and sit down because they were fighting for their rights. And this piece of legislation is a blast from the past.
Thank you, Representative Lawrence. Any other questions? Representative Chestnut?
I first want to start off by all those taking a look, those of us who have this bill, taking a look at page number 2 and the bottom of page number 2, top of page number 3. Look at that language on from line 55 to line 59. Based on that language, the very essence of a historical black college and university would be threatened, because I can tell you I attended an HBCU, and one of the major reasons I did was because I didn't want to go to a predominantly white university because I'd heard the horror stories. I went somewhere where I felt more comfortable and where I was cultivated. And if I wanted to be in a place where I knew that if I didn't make the grade, it had nothing to do with another factor. It was just, I just didn't do what I was supposed to do. When you have this kind of language and you're going after things specifically for trying to have outreach to a specific demographic, you're threatening, opportunities that people might draw from that. I mean, even Clarence Thomas on the United States Supreme Court understands the importance of HBCUs. Even Donald Trump understands and has financially supported HBCUs. So I don't understand why we have a bill that has language that would literally threaten the essence of a HBCU, when the whole purpose of it, the reason they were created in the first place was because when black folks came out of enslavement, bondage and servitude, there were folks who got together and said, hey, they've been fighting these wars. They've been fighting this war, the Civil War. and they know how to use arms. Now we need to teach them how to put down the arms and use plows and get and agriculture, so that because if folks have a viable way to provide sustenance for themselves, then they won't think about other things like war. That was the reason HBCUs were created, to give us a opportunity and space to be able to be creative and to grow and to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining. This is going to handicap and possibly destroy that opportunity. And I think it's, I think it's wrong. I think we really need to take a look at least this section and look at trying to strike it, maybe if not here, on the floor, because of that, or trying to make it work to where it doesn't threaten the essence of an HBCU. The other issue I see is that we have this on page 3, lines 70 through 75. It's saying, it's very broad sweeping. It's saying that a university, a higher education, public institution can't sponsor any diversity, equity, inclusion program or maintain any office, location, department that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Now, look, if somebody's promoting something that is making anybody, white, black, Asian, doesn't matter, making anybody feel like they are less important because of the, how they were born, then that's wrong. And that's something that should not be, we should not tolerate as a civilized society. However, when you say that no diversity, equity, inclusion program whatsoever, it's like you're taking the words diversity, equity, inclusion, and you're attributing like a nefarious intent behind them. When you look at the Merriam-Webster dictionary and diversity, equity, inclusion, I mean, they're not evil intended things. Diversity just means diversity. Like, we're sitting here, there are diverse people sitting in this room right now. Right, so the words themselves don't. I mean, I know we have political footballs and we create these pejoratives for terms of art, but I mean, for what it is, it's not inherently wrong. And by broadly saying no, you could say something like diversity, equity, inclusion program that promotes nefarious ideas or things that promote communism or promote tearing down a person because of how they were born or something along those lines. I mean, I just think it's just very poorly written, and I don't know if it was intended to be that way or if I mean, I don't look. I know that some of the folks here that are pushing this are good, well-intentioned folk, because I work with you. I know some of y'all are really good-intentioned folk, but we don't need to cast a wide net. And then, I mean, if you're just trying to catch fish, catch fish. Don't cast a net and catch whales and boots of pirates. Just catch fish. Another thing I want you to take a look at is on page 5. Okay, on page 5, when we look at section 4, 119 through 123, we talk about says nothing in this act prevents the student, staff, faculty, organizations, associations from hosting diversity, equity, inclusion programs that are discussions that may involve divisive concepts, provided that no state funds are used to sponsor these programs. Now, we just got through pushing past a Choose Act to say that a private school who could teach whatever they want to teach, and we have given them state funds to teach parochially what they want to teach, which may be something that promotes divisive concepts, and we have put no accountability barriers or metrics in place, and that's just plain wrong. That's wrong.
If you're gonna do it for one, do it for all. I think that nobody sitting in here who was a full-blooded American believes that we should treat similarly situated people different. I think everybody, if I meet a guy and he's a SOB, and he's a SOB to you, and you, and he's one to me, I can accept a guy like that because he's just a natural SOB. But if he's treating you good and he's treating me bad, I got a problem with that. And everybody should have a problem with that. So what I want you guys to do is be open to the fact that I'm going to have some suggestions, and I might want to try to work with some things on the floor. I want you to be open to that because I know you're going to pass the bill. We don't have the numbers to stop you. But I also don't want us to have, more far-reaching unintended consequences from what we're trying to do here. Another thing I wanted to take a look at, I want y'all to take a look at, is on page number 7. From 170 to 175. And if you look at that, maybe y'all need to, maybe we'll talk to David Faulkner about that. I can get in the room and talk to him, some of the legal folks, and we can talk about that. But I think there's some First Amendment issues and implications with that. Now, if I was a bad actor, I'd let you go ahead and pass unconstitutional law, and then so it can get struck down in court. But I want to try to, let's work with this and let's get that, because I think that students, I think that employees, I think that folks have a First Amendment right to express themselves, as long as they are not, using the public dime to coerce people to believe how they believe. But I think that there has to be some level of academic freedom that goes on, because a lot of times kids go to college because sometimes they go to college because they read some professor's book, and professors by nature they have to be provocative. They have to push the envelope a little bit, whether it's left or right, in order to get published a lot of times. And so students go, they say, hey, they have this guy here, they have that. Like I've heard black law students or black lawyers in Alabama say, one of the main reasons I attended the University of Alabama was I met Brian Fair. And I think he wrote a book about the racial caste system or something. But Brian Fair, most folks who went to law school that went to Alabama know him. He's a brilliant professor, and he's somebody that a lot of young black students, when they meet him, they take a liking to him, and they say, well, I was going to go to Georgetown, but I guess I'm going to go to Alabama now because I met this gentleman, So, and the last point I want to make is that I can't remember the lady's name, but she made some incredible points. She said that 36%, that corporations who are expanding DEI, they perform 36% better than those that don't have DEI programs. Then she named corporations like Regions and Shipped. Of course, I did some research myself. I saw that just about every leading law firm, every 500-person law firm in the state of Alabama has a diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Even some of them that some people in this body work for have diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. And so Alabama Power, I think they have a diversity, equity, inclusion program. I mean, all these major corporations around here, they have these diversity, equity, inclusion programs. Now, if a program is pushing, if you have a DEI program, like I can't remember what corporation, I think it was Meta or Google, I can't remember, but I don't don't hold me to, but I know it's one of those corporations, one of those California corporations that had DEI program. They went and hired the worst person they could find to run the program, who was pretty much a hustler, and then she ran the program into the ground. Well, you know, obviously if people make poor decisions and they go and hire somebody that is a hustler, then you can use that one hustler, that one terrible situation, and then say, well, it happened there, so it happens all over. But you know, we shouldn't be, it's no different from if a police officer, one bad police officer does something, and then we say all police are bad. Like, that's just flawed thinking, that's flawed reasoning. So what I think is, you know, if you need to use a scalpel, use a scalpel, but don't use a butcher knife. You know what I'm saying? And everybody in here has the right to have their personal story told, to have their ancestral story told, to have to be able to have dignity and be proud about from whence they come. And the only way we do that is we have to have the conversation. So if we don't have the conversation, then we're walking around, we're enraged, we got things bottled up, and when things get bottled up, bad things happen. So let's have the conversation and let's move to a more inclusive society where we bring in folks who are different from us, who have value, who bring value in different arenas, and then we can do what we need to do. Everybody who's played a sport knows that when you play sports, it's the one place where no matter who you are, at the end of the day, you have to perform. And so we're all up in here. We're supposed to be a team. Let's perform on behalf of the people of the state of Alabama, and let's have a more diverse and inclusive society so that we can grow and so that we can bring more people into this state who can contribute and benefit to this state so that we can all be proud of the service that we render on behalf of the people. Thank you.
Thank you for that testimony, Representative Chestnut. Okay, do we have any other comments, Representative Paramore?
If it's appropriate, Mr. Chair, I have an amendment to the bill that was agreed to by the sponsor.
Sure. We'll hear the amendment.
All right.
It's in the packet.
It's in the packet. We're going to replace line 75 on page 3 with the following. It's programs as identified in subdivision 3 of section 1. That's the first part of the amendment. And then the second part is replace lines 152 through 153 on page 6 with the following, and it's basically adding some commas and changing a couple of words. Engaging in clinical trials or providing medical, mental, or any health care or clinical services targeted to support individuals of any specific, and then the rest of the lines are there. So that's the amendment.
Okay.
I would like to offer.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you offering the motion?
Yes, sir.
A motion by Representative Paramore. Do we have a second? By Representative Shaw. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any more comment? Okay, go ahead. Hey, Representative Paramore, Shaw. Okay, Representative Lawrence.
It's you know, most people know that since I've been in the legislature, I try not to be a very emotional person. I try to stay even keel. I try to look at the issues for what they are and make a conscious decision on whether I'm going to support them and whether I'm not going to support them. But there's an old black cultural saying, and I felt that way today. It's regardless of what everybody's saying, whatever they think. You know, I don't talk that much, but I got time today. And it's because we keep going through these same things. We keep trying to create something that's not there because of fear mongering or because of national politics. And I'm just sick and tired of us doing that here in the state legislature. And I just wanted to make those comments because my initial comments were to start off and to offer amendments to this bill, and I just got kind of emotional, so I want to kind of bring it back in, and I do have a amendment that I would like to offer, and I hope the sponsor would consider it. Actually, I have 2 amendments that I want to offer. We voted on his.
We voted on it.
We already voted on his amendment.
Okay.
And my amendment, my first amendment is replace lines 74 through 75 on page 3 with the following. Department that promotes divisive concepts.
Okay, we've heard the amendment.
I'll second.
Okay. Was that you? Did you make a motion? Okay.
I'll make the motion then.
Okay, we'll say motion by Lawrence, second by Chestnut. Okay, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, amendment did not pass. I'm sorry. Okay, next one.
Next amendment is on page 7, replace lines. Let me explain this amendment. So we have I guess an exception, or an amendment that was offered to kind of remove the Office of Minority Affairs from this piece of legislation. But there's some concerns from other state agencies that feel like part of their job is to create spaces where diversity, equity, and inclusion can actually be beneficial, and do it without, quote unquote, creating these divisive concept issues. And so this amendment just says on page 7, replace line 83 with the following. Of the Alabama Office of Minority Affairs may be construed to affect or limit the activities of any state or local agency, department, program, or office that is established or maintained for the purpose of the entity's duty as provided by law to engage with a particular community or communities. And I would like to make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Second. Motion for amendment by Representative Lawrence, second by Representative Chestnut. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed?
No.
No. Okay, I'm sorry, that amendment fails. Okay, any more comment, questions, amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment.
Representative Kale.
I've got an amendment that further defines contractor. It's on page, what's on line 24. And would you like me to read the amendment?
Please.
It says, replace lines 24 through 26 on page 1 with the following. Contractor, and this defines the contractor, any individual or entity that provides services to a state agency, public institution of higher education, or local board of education. This term does not include an individual or entity that provides construction services. And then further on, replace line 117. It's on page 5 with the following. Code of Alabama, 1975. And no state agency or political subdivision may terminate a contract or contractor under this section unless a contractor in this state knowingly violated this act in the course of his or her contractual obligation. So it just clarifies what a contractor is, and also says that if a contractor does not knowingly violate this act, then the act has not been violated. And this is agreed upon with both Senator Barfoot and Representative Oliver.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. A motion by Representative Saul. Second by Representative Paramore. All in favor say aye.
Hold on.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I wanted to have some discussion on it. I wanted to get further clarification on what we're trying to do with it.
Okay, it might be a little bit too late for that, but we'll go ahead and the motion's already passed, the amendment's passed, but we'll listen to you. Go ahead.
Okay, but as a point of order, when you do the second of a motion, discussion ensues. You're supposed to allow an opportunity for discussion before the vote.
Okay.
So, I was just trying to find out, is this something that's dealing with, because I'm thinking about like in federal, there are a lot of federal funds that are connected with that have diversity language in the actual funding documents. And so how does this last amendment, how does it affect that?
That I don't know. It just basically clarifies that in the section that it described the contractors, I believe, from what I understand, broader than what it actually meant to do in this piece of legislation, and it's just narrowed it back down.
More accurately describes what a contractor is.
In this instance, yes.
Okay, so it doesn't affect any type of federal.
No, sir.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I add something to that?
Sure.
Actually, Representative Chestnut, what we were trying to do is make sure that in 15 years after we're all gone, somebody didn't come back and misread what we were trying to do. So we excluded some, we had felt like it was important to clear up that terminology. And we're more interested in contractors that would work for a university or a state agency that actually are DEI instructors. So we wanted to make that delineation in the bill.
Okay, any more discussion? Any more comments? Do we have a motion?
Move to get bill by report.
Okay, a motion by Representative Paramore.
Chairman Smith, if I may, real quick.
Yes, sir. Representative Edson.
Sorry for being a little bit late to be recognized, but I just wanted this brief opportunity. I know oftentimes that when those of us who are in favor of a bill, we oftentimes, often will sit silent in the debate. We'll let the debate occur, especially those who want to get their due time to speak out against it. And I think that, for me, is out of respect. If you have something that you want to say, I want to allow that opportunity. But I couldn't help but sit here, and I don't often talk about my personal life when I'm here, but I hope I'm seen as an individual that offers my fellow representatives and colleagues with a lot of respect, regardless of their background, regardless of what part of the state they may have come from, and certainly regardless of their circumstance. But I was a child, grew up right here in Montgomery, Alabama, the cradle of the Confederacy, but also the birthplace of civil rights. I was a product of Montgomery Public Schools, where we went to school together. All races attended school together. We played athletic competitions together. We shared parties and engagements together. We were friends together. And all of this was at a time where there was no program such as DEI that told us that we had to be friends. We were friends, we were colleagues, we were co-competitors on the athletic field in competition, but we were also competitors on the field of life. And we did it because we came from homes in which our parents taught us that all men and women are created equal. My father grew up on the streets here in Montgomery during the civil rights era, and certainly I'm sure if he was still alive today, he would admit to you that he had certain feelings and beliefs during the civil rights era that he did not hold on to the rest of his life. My parents did the best they could to raise me in that belief that regardless of who you were and are and your skin color, you treated everybody equally. So I guess the point that I wanted to make to everybody is just because we stand in support of this bill and against DEI, because we agree those terms, and I believe one of our speakers said it well, they've been hijacked. But the concepts and what this program has pushed, because you have a child of the South, Montgomery, Alabama, that just about a year or so ago was forced to go through a DEI training. And as I stood there, perhaps one of the most understanding, at least I believe, and empathetic individuals due to my career and the things I've was taught as a child, I felt marginalized because I didn't share some of the beliefs. We were lined up on a line on the side of the room, and we were given certain scenarios, and you were told to step forward if you agreed or disagreed. And those very things, the pressure of the people around you, forced you into feelings that nobody in here should have to feel as a part of a DEI program. Now, in respect to Representative Chestnut, perhaps this was just a bad instructor. But what it did for me as an individual that I was taught to believe of love and compassion, my fellow man, it made me feel a way that I didn't think I should feel. And so that's why I can stand here and support this bill, because this concept and training, it perhaps has been hijacked, but I think if you go back to the way that I was raised and your parents taught you, that you love your fellow man, that all of us as human beings are going to come together and we're going to stand together and not against each other. And so I just wanted to say that before. It was tough to say all that, but I want to let you know that's why I support this bill.
Very well spoken, Representative Pezzo. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we had a motion by Representative Paramore, a second by Staghagen. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay.
Make sure I'm on the record. That's a no.
Okay, bill passes. This concludes our meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.